Tansei, my name is Agnes Woodward. I'm Nehiao from Treaty 4 Territory and a member of Kwakatu's First Nation. I now live in North Dakota on MHA Nation with my husband and children. I'm the project director for MMIP, a storytelling initiative with Seeding Sovereignty, and I'm really honored to have this opportunity to amplify voices of MMIP families. Storytelling can be a tool that helps in the healing process. It can offer insight into issues that we don't always understand. And if we really listen to the truth told by families, it can potentially lead to solutions and prevention of experiences like those of the missing and murdered loved ones. Our stories hold power, and I believe that it's important to humanize these experiences to really further further awareness and to foster solidarity through compassion and empathy. So before bring on today's guests, I first want to give a gentle content warning. It's really difficult to talk about MMIP without talking about some of the violence, and discussions about violence can bring up past trauma. And so we want to give a little trigger warning, but at the same time, these stories matter and they should be told until there is no more relatives that, go missing or are murdered. With that, I would really like to bring on our guest, Delores Daniels.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Del. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So nice to see you, and such an honor to have you here to share with us.
Thank you.
Before we start, can you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do, where you're from.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you today, for the invitation. And my name is Delores Daniels, and I'm a member of the Peguis First Nation in Manitoba in Canada. And I grew up in the city of Winnipeg, where I raised my family. So I also have roots from George Gordon First Nation in Saskatchewan. So that's where my mother's side of the family is from. And so I moved here, I guess, when I was about 6, 7 years old. And, I've been in Winnipeg since then. My current working role is a director of human resources for one of the largest First Nations organizations in Manitoba called the Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Center.
Mhm.
And I've been working there since June 2003. So we have, quite a number of staff that provide direct support and services to the First Nations communities within Manitoba.
Mm.
So it's been a lot of growth for us, and we currently have a school division where we employ teachers from the 11 First Nation communities.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, our work is like really extensive, and it's one of a kind within Manitoba. So
Wow.
um, I'm also a residential school survivor. I went to residential school in Gordon's when I was a young child,
Mhm.
and I've also been in domestic abusive relationships. So
Mhm.
I've I consider myself a survivor of that as well. And I'm the mother of three um, adult boys, and I had one daughter, and her name was Serena McKay, and so she was my only daughter. And
Mhm.
she tragically lost her life in April of 2017. And so it's been, a real challenge for us since then with, going through her loss and, just having to live without her now. Um, but I'm also a grandmother and I have grandchildren. I have two that are located out on the east coast of Canada in New Brunswick.
Mhm.
And then I also have two that are here in Winnipeg. So I try to spend time with them when I can. And, it's just been um, trying to also keep my daughter's memory alive and talking to them about, what happened with her.
Mhm.
And so I am involved in various activities involving missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in 2S
Mhm.
within Winnipeg, and just participated in a lot of different events, and just trying to appeal for ending of violence, any kind of forms of violence. I want to advocate for ending that. I'm involved with what's called the Families First Foundation for Missing and Murdered for the last few years, and we currently are doing memorial book uh, for our loved ones. And so what we've done is we've undertaken a project where we've gotten funding to do this book, and what it'll be is a commemoration for missing and murdered girls and women. And
Mm.
it'll be we've invited various family members to submit a story or photos or drawings of their loved ones to be included in the book. And so we're getting close to finalization of that, and then we're hoping to release it at the May 5th day within Winnipeg. So it'll
Oh, wow.
be like just a commemoration for our loved ones that have gone on. So that's a piece of what we've been doing. I'm also involved as a board member or an advisory member for the Manitoba MMIWG 2S Plus Partnership Implementation Advisory Group.
Mhm.
And this is to strategize and make a plan for ending violence against Indigenous women and girls and 2S persons in Manitoba. And it's in response to the recent report that came out on the calls for justice for the missing and murdered. And there's 231 calls to action, which have not necessarily been actioned at this point by the
Mhm.
government. So it is a call for government to to take some action and start working on a plan. And so part of our advisory group is to just come up and to meet and strategize on how we can provide recommendations and to address some of the calls to action. So
Mhm. Just within community?
yes, yeah. And so and then like I said, I've been involved in various healing gatherings, and it's always helpful to be among other families that have also lost loved ones and are going through the same issues.
Mhm.
And the healing gatherings have helped to just for us to understand and to share and to um, have some nice concrete work done with us.
Yeah.
And they've involved elders and just um, people that work with trauma, with
Mhm.
us. So, and then I've been to a few marches and various speaking events on missing and murdered.
Mhm.
Just trying to advocate for our women and girls.
Yeah.
And so, and then also with my work, I've, done different things on lateral violence in the workplace. And so, just trying to end any kind of violence and bullying in the workplace as well. And I've done a few
Mhm.
presentations for some students in the First Nation schools, and just telling my story about my daughter and just with the things that we went through, and
Mhm.
talking about bullying and violence and how it should not be something that they should be involved with,
Mhm.
so, and just to try and give them some good ideas or information about, like some things like the seven sacred teachings. And
Mhm.
I try to focus a lot on respect and what that means. And that my daughter, when she passed away, she was given a spirit name, and it was Buffalo Woman. You
Mhm.
know, the buffalo represents respect. So that's kind of like why I focus on that because
Mhm.
it's so important to um, portray and relay that respect where whenever you're talking to people or whenever you interact with anybody in general. So
Mhm.
to advocate for people to just be reminded of that and to try and follow it as well. So
Mhm.
so that's a little bit about me and my background.
Wow. Wow, you do a lot. That's so, just inspirational, you
Mhm.
clearly carry a lot of strength, um, to be able to do so much to advocate within your community, to bring community together, to be a leader, in trying to teach our youth and share those, important teachings with them. I'm kind of blown away right now.
Thank you.
It's
Well,
wonderful.
it actually took a long time to get to this point,
Mhm.
and, because when I first talk about it, I'd break down and,
Mhm.
and that was for, a long time. Even now at sometimes I still have, trouble,
Right.
just, talking about it or bringing it out and,
Mhm.
but it's important too in your healing and, it's important for raising awareness, and
Mhm. Yeah.
so that's why I do it. Yeah.
And I think it also offers, like, comfort,
Mhm,
to family members that don't feel, that have a hard time, using their voice or feel like they don't have a place to talk about, the grief and all the different complex, feelings that come with, situations where your relative is murdered or is missing. Like, there's so
mhm,
many emotions that, and stages of grief that you go through. And I think hearing from other family members just offers that comfort and that solace and not feeling alone, feeling like somebody actually understands you. Because I know that when we're hurting and, grieving, like, it's so deep, dark, and personal that it feels like nobody would ever understand. You could never come up with enough words to explain what you're feeling, and I think
mhm,
that, just especially from what I've learned from my mom Danielle, is that families being together just gives you something you can't get in other spaces, and I think that you leading a lot of that work is just really good for the families, who happen to be coming into this not by choice.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, so I kinda wanted to give you a little bit of background on my daughter and,
Mhm,
she was and the issues that led up to what happened with her. So, she was 19 years old when she lost her life, and,
mhm,
she had, a fairly normal upbringing, within the city of Winnipeg, and, um, but there was, issues, that she faced as well, and, she had some difficulties when she was a teenager. My ex-husband and I went through a separation and divorce, and so that had an impact on her as well.
mhm,
And so she had a little bit of problems adjusting to that, and deciding where she wanted to stay. And so she moved in with me for a while, and she stayed with mostly wanted to be with her dad at the house where she grew up. So when she was um, I think she was about 17. She went over to live in Sagging, Manitoba,
mhm,
and she was living with a family who were friends of ours from years ago. And she was going to high school because she did have the objective to finish her high school. And
mhm,
so she tried really hard to live with them and to stay out there and to attend school every day. And but she was always wanting to come home on the weekends, and she so she would come in and excuse me, have a hard time going back to
mhm,
to school.
Yeah.
So, when I was driving back and forth to take her back, and so it was a little bit
Mhm.
challenging. But
How long of a drive was it?
I'd say it's about an hour and a half from
Okay.
Winnipeg. Yeah,
Mhm.
a bit north of Winnipeg. And so, when there was an evening, it was April 22nd, 2017, and I got a phone call, and she had called me, and I missed the call because I was out at a function with some coworkers, and so I noticed after that she had called, so I sent her a text message and I asked her, "What's up?" And I never heard back from her, so I didn't think anything of it because sometimes we just text each other, but and just kind of leave it hanging there. But we had always talked like every day, and
Mhm.
whether it was on the phone or by text message or by messenger, and just to check up on her and see how she was doing, and just to say hello or whatever. But so I
Mhm.
didn't hear back from her, and then I didn't necessarily think anything of it at that point. And then the next day, the family contacted me and asked if I'd heard from her. And I said, no, I didn't hear since last night. And when I missed her phone call. And then they said that she hadn't shown up back at home. So they were a bit concerned because she'd never necessarily gone anywhere and she didn't really know too many people besides, students at school.
Mhm.
And so she didn't really have any friends, except for the friends that were living at the same house as her.
Mhm.
And so, anyways, they decided later in the evening to make a missing persons report. And so they contacted the RCMP, and like the parent had gone around in the community to see, if anybody had seen her or if she was anywhere, in the area where they lived. But they did not find her. And so I was getting a bit worried, and I was texting her and I was trying to find out where she would be, and I was calling her phone, but there was no answer.
Mhm.
And so, I decided to. It was already after 11. I decided to go to bed, and then I got a call at midnight, and it was from one of the girls that was living at the home as well. And she called and she was really upset, and she said that they had found my daughter, and that she was deceased. And so, I jumped out of bed and I, started like screaming and freaking out. And my common law at the time, he got up and he said, "What's going on?" So I explained to him that I had gotten the phone call. And then he said, "Well, let's go." And so at that point, there was nothing, nothing else we could do except get ready and go out there.
Mhm.
So I called my mom and I called my sister, my son, and we picked up my son and went out there. And at that point, I hadn't even gotten a call from the police, and so we just up and went and drove out there, and we went directly to the RCMP station, and just to see if we could find out anything. And so uh, they
Mhm.
they told us that they were still in discussions and looking at different things, and that they wanted us to come back. So within an hour, so we basically just went over to where she was living and talked to the people there and sat there for a bit, and then we went back. So they were able to bring us in to talk to us, and they gave us, what little information they had at that point.
Mhm.
But they did tell us that she was brutally beaten, and there was a lady in the community that came across her body,
Mhm.
and she said that she well, we had talked to her at some point later, and she said that she was so um, upset when she came across her body because of the condition of her body,
Mhm,
and the condition of her face and everything. And so she was, traumatic and upset, and she was
mhm,
traumatized from what she saw. So, anyways, we ended up talking to the police, and they told us that she was beaten, and that um, they found her body. They um, later found out that it was a party that she was at,
mhm,
and that there was minors involved, and they asked her to buy liquor for them. And um, they said that she did buy the liquor, but then they kicked her out from the party, and then they had a dispute over the liquor, is what I'm told.
mhm,
And so they started a fight with her, and the fight led to outdoors,
mhm.
and they, you know, they brutally beat her up, and they did a recording of the beating, and from what I understand, there was 6 other youth besides my daughter at the party. And at that point of the beating, I understand that there might have been 4 other youth besides herself, because they said there was 2 boys that were present during the video, as well as the 2 girls that beat her up.
Mhm,
And so, within a matter of days, they were able to identify the girls,
mhm.
and bring them in. And they were, they did not um, end up charging any of the boys that were involved, because they said that they were bystanders and that they did not get involved in the act. So,
Bystanders who didn't do anything.
what's that?
I said bystanders who didn't do anything.
What they're saying, yeah. But
Mm.
from what I understand, one of the boys was doing the videotaping with a cell phone, and so and that's what they told us, was that they would not be charged.
I don't think that proves any innocence. I think that as a human being, you have a responsibility to stop this kind of violence from happening in front of you. And if you don't, you're just as guilty, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. hmm So, it was like a real, I guess, shocking time, and my body went into shock, and my mind went into shock, and by the time we left and went home, uh, it was like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we were driving back, and my son was with us, and um, he all of a sudden he says, "Look, mom," and so he was pointing at the sky, and we got out and we stood and looked at the sky, and there was just like really bright northern lights dancing in the sky.
Mm.
So I guess that was kind of like a message for us.
Yeah.
So, and then, then I found out that the girls did get charged. When we went through court, and it was just such a hard time to go through all that, and just not knowing the system, and not
Mm,
understanding different terms, and different things that they talk about. And so it was, we were lucky to have support from the the justice system, where they provided a court worker, and
mm, yeah.
the we were able to get a little bit of support in that way. And
Mhm,
the liaison for missing and murdered also got involved, and we were provided access to an elder. And so we were lucky in that way, that we had some support going through the justice system.
mhm.
And Obviously, it was the first time experiencing that, so we didn't know what to expect. And the there was one of the girls was 16 and the other was 17, and they both one of them was charged with second degree murder,
Mhm.
and the other one was charged with manslaughter. And so when we found out when they were charged, we had tried to advocate to get the highest sentence possible,
Mhm.
just because of the with having lost your daughter, right? So
Yeah.
you want to have justice, and you want for the perpetrators to get the highest possible they could. Um, so what happened was they called us in to have a meeting, and they told me that um, that they would be charged as youth, they would be tried as youth,
Mhm.
and that there was one um, issue that they found out about that would lessen the charges. And I said, okay, well, what is that? And they said, well, they got the autopsy back, and they said that they determined that her death was due to probable hypothermia.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was because of her inability to um, look after herself or to get to a safe place because of her falling over, and because of the exposure to the cold on that night. And they said that a secondary um, issue was that the blunt force trauma, and that she had a severe head injury.
Mhm.
So this resulted in like bruising and abrasions to her face and her head, and lacerations on her face. Her nose was fractured. She had, bleeding under her scalp and under her skin, and, hemorrhaging in her brain.
Mhm.
And um, she had over 67 injuries to her body. And so they told me that she got up from the beating and walked about 30 meters and then fell over.
Oh my goodness.
And she was I believe they said she was on her way to the neighbor's house, to
Mhm.
try and get help. And she didn't make it there.
Oh.
Um, and then they said that in addition to the beating and to um, the head injury and stuff, that she had acute alcohol intoxication. So, and that was a significant factor to her ability to get help and to walk and to, you know, so, and this is what they said was that, the youth would be given opportunity for a plea bargain. And so to me, I didn't really understand what that meant, and I, I had to kind of learn or, inquire as to how that worked.
Yeah.
So so what happened was, they were able to negotiate with them where one would accept the charge for second degree, and then the other one would get the lesser charge
Mhm.
of manslaughter, and that it had to be both agreed upon, and that they would be charged as youth. And it turned out that they did get the major sentence though as youth. And even though we tried to advocate for adult charges, because they were more or less mature youth, and they were they were at a drinking party for another thing. and
Mhm.
and then with what they had done with the beating, so to us, we felt that they were mature enough in order to be tried as adults,
Right.
but the courts did not agree.
Mhm.
So the one girl did get 4, I believe it was 4 years, and of course, they take less time served. So she got the 4 years, and the other girl got just under 4 years, like three and a half years or something.
So
So,
they're been out and
oh
free.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So, we went through and submitted our victim impact statements, and
Mhm.
you know, we tried hard to advocate and to raise awareness to it, and we went through so many interviews with media, and it was in the papers, and it was like just constant. Um, like, and even that, like, you don't know what to say or how to respond when you're in that kind of grief.
Right.
And when I first got the first request for interview, I was like, oh, what am I gonna say? And what if I break down? Like, I don't want to go through that. And so it
Yeah.
was really difficult um, in the beginning when I first started thinking about it, and
Mhm.
it was scary. I didn't want to be on TV, and I didn't want to have to talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to like expose my feelings. And
Right. It's hard
so
to be vulnerable in front of other people.
yeah.
Um, so 2017, 2018, this was really around like the hearings, right? During the national inquiry. So people were probably more so wanting to just hear your story and like,
Mhm.
yeah, talk more about that, huh?
And we did actually testify at the national inquiry.
Mm,
And some of the things I talked about was just around the court system, and how it seems so unfair. And they were able to use Gladue reports, with their background and their history. And I said, well, what about my daughter? She had Gladue report issues as well,
mhm,
and that's not even taken into consideration as to what the things that she went through.
mhm.
And so it was really a difficult process. um, but we do, there is restraining orders currently in place that those girls cannot contact any of us in our family,
Mhm,
and they cannot be around us or have any kind of interaction. So that's in place for a couple of years, and I believe they are getting some supports, through the court system and through counseling and things like that. So they do have certain conditions that they have to abide by.
mhm.
And the really sad thing is that it happened in a First Nation community,
Yeah.
and that these are First Nations youth as well.
Mhm,
So, and that's some of the things that I talk about too, is the lateral violence that happens within communities, and and I believe that it's important to talk about those things and to
mhm,
be open about it within a community, and just to educate and raise awareness about what lateral violence is,
mhm,
as it's so important to try and you know have students to get along, and not to have infighting, and because in our history of our First Nations people, that was never condoned, and it should still not be condoned. And there's so much impacts of intergenerational impacts from residential school, and the just with the upbringing of our parents, it was difficult for them to be parents. And
Mhm,
and for myself, I tried as best as I could, to raise my family.
mhm,
And but of course we had those impacts too with the oppression and just the things that we had to face. So,
mhm,
it's been a hard time for our communities and our people, and even with the start of the 215 um, students that were found,
mhm.
and it's just growing larger. Like even as of yesterday, they had found, additional graves in Florida.
169.
Yeah, so that number, you don't know how many is out there.
And it hurts just as much every single time you hear,
Yeah.
another couple hundred added to that list, like,
Mm,
still hurts just as much as, the 215.
yes. And like the um, we don't know how high that number is going to grow, but when
Mm,
I think about all those little kids, I think like how big our population could have been right now, you know. And even though we are a large community within Canada,
mhm.
just imagine how we could be rulers of this country by now, you
Yeah,
know. And like our people could be doing so much right now if it wasn't for the system that was implemented years and years ago.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, and, just to add on to all of that, like, one thing I always talk about with, families within the MMIWG2S plus movement, MMIP movement, is, like, all the complexities between all of these issues and how, not every family, but most families, there's those layers of trauma, so when within, like, my family, just sharing the story of my aunt, like,
Mm,
there's so much to it that she's a survivor of, the '60s scoop, like, all of these things are just intertwined with each other, and, like, I just try to explain those things to people so they understand that, like, yes, this is grief, but there's so many layers on top of it that have made life for Indigenous people, First Nations people of Canada, really difficult, and
mhm,
so our grief is gonna be a little more, uh, I wanna say difficult than the common person that loses somebody, there's so much pain there, there's so much healing that is needed, Um, but I really felt like your story is so important because people really, I don't even know what the word is, like, glorify these stories and they just picture, like, non-native people preying on indigenous women, like, they get these visions and views of what this movement is, and it, like I said, it's so complex, and there's so many different experiences, and
yeah,
like yours is underage people, like people who aren't even adults that made a decision to, be violent and
mm,
take the life of your daughter. Like, and these are females. That's just a story that people don't, I guess, expect. And
yeah.
I just, yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's why I felt so bad about it, the
Mhm,
whole thing, because that could have been preventable.
mhm,
And they um I for a long time I had a hard time trying to understand why they did it.
mhm.
And the only thing that I could think of was that lateral violence and that jealousy that they had, and um I struggle with myself to try and forgive, but I'm still not there yet.
Yeah, and
What I
that's okay. That's
mean?
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't force what you don't feel, and
mm,
if that's your process, that's your healing process, and you don't ever have to, like, rush that,
mm.
because when you force something, then it's not real.
It's not genuine, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
exactly. So taking into account, like, just all of that you've had to go through, especially with, like, the justice system and learning and navigating, what does justice mean to you? Like, why is justice important? Is justice attainable even, when you have a loved one taken? Like, is that a word that resonates with you, or is there just not.
Well, we did have our own campaign where we had cries for justice for my daughter.
Mhm.
And, to me, I don't feel that there is justice in the justice system, and why do they use the word justice? And because to me, I don't feel that anybody will ever receive justice when they lose a loved one. And that, that they'll never have the satisfaction, or that feeling that they're over it, because even with the girls serving the little time that they did receive, we lost our loved one, and we
Right.
lost our daughter, our only daughter, you know
Mhm.
and so I think that it to me, maybe I'll receive justice when I see my daughter again. you
Mhm.
know I don't
Aw.
know.
Yeah, that's so sad, but that's so beautiful at the same time, just because, like, as Native people, we have our beliefs, and we know that, um, just going to be with our relatives is, like, it's beautiful. As hard as it is for us here on Earth to, not have the physical presence, we know that we go somewhere more beautiful, and to be there with your daughter, I think, that's a beautiful way to view it.
Mhm. Yeah. And like, I wanted to share some of her pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, we
And
love photos and hearing, little stories.
yeah, so this is Serena when she was a baby, and she was such a beautiful little baby.
Um,
And after having 3 sons, I was like, I want a little girl now. So she was like our pride and joy, and she was just a really beautiful baby girl. And she was born September 30th of 1997. And as you know, September 30th is now
Orange Shirt Day.
Orange Shirt Day within
Yeah.
Canada. And so this gets a little bit ironic that her birthday was on that same day. And so, she brought us a lot of joy when she was a little girl, and everybody just loved her because she was so cute.
She so
Yeah.
cute.
So you can go to the next slide. So when she was younger, she did participate in Girl Guides, and so she'd go on little outings, and they'd have like campouts where she would attend, and she
Mm,
really learned a lot. Like, she learned how to survive on her own, and how to little things like making a fire, and um, they teach you how to get along with other people, and the things that they teach for Girl Guides is just like survival things, and she
aw,
really enjoyed that. And so the picture in the middle is just, at one point I did have my ex-husband's grandchildren. Our grandchildren were with us, so we had like 7 kids at home at one time for
oh,
like a
wow.
year. Yeah, and that's her in the middle holding the youngest, um, Zachary. So, it was such a challenge to have 7 little kids at home. But it was, she was always like the little motherly type, always looking after everybody too. And
I see that in the photo.
yeah, exactly. And and then the other picture on the right is just of the two of us when we were on a trip and we stopped by the water. So she always loved,
Mm.
the water and going to the ocean, and So she loved to travel, and so I took her on a few trips with me, and she just loved going out and being by the water, and
Mhm.
also loved to experience new things and see new things, and just see different parts of the country. And so we always went to Gordon's too every year to go to the powwow, and so she really enjoyed that. And just attending powwows, and she always said that she loved the drum. It made her heart happy.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so the next slide is just some pictures of her as a young girl, and actually the one on the left is at the last powwow that she attended, which was in Winnipeg. It was the Manitoba powwow,
Mm,
and so and she always loved beautiful things like jewelry and sunglasses, and she liked to get henna tattoos, and she liked to dress up, and just to make herself feel good,
mm,
and others really loved her too. Like, she had so many friends, and everybody just loved being with her. She was funny and outgoing, and she just had a lot of close knit friends
mhm.
that would always come to see her.
Oh, she's so beautiful. She has perfect eyebrows.
Yeah, for sure. So these are just some other pictures of when she was a little older, and the picture on the right is when she was at school in Sagging,
Mhm.
and the bottom picture on the right is a drum that she made, and it was the Circle of Life, and um, she made that drum, and she was really proud of it. And so when she was buried, we actually put the drum in with her,
Oh, that's
and so she was such a beautiful girl.
yes, she was
Yeah.
talented.
Yeah. So when she was to be she passed April 23rd of 2017, and she was supposed to graduate on June 23rd. And that's actually my birthday. So
What?
we yeah, and we actually got an invitation to come out to Sagging, because they did want to honor her with a graduation certificate.
Mhm.
So they did have a chair for her with a red dress, red gown, and
Mhm.
they did give me her graduation certificate, as well as a grad ring that the students fundraised for, and they presented me with that. And I had a hard time going out there. I didn't want to go, and I just was so angry, and I just um, I felt that I just couldn't make an appearance, and I was angry at the community. I didn't feel that I was going to be welcomed, and but anyway, I decided I have to go for her, you know, because she struggled to work hard to get there.
Yeah.
So so I did end up going, and I was happy that I did. So there was a lady from Peguis, a girl from Peguis, who organized a red dress, jingle dress special at the powwow in Peguis, Manitoba,
Mhm.
and that was on July 19th of 2017. So she invited us all to come out, and she did a special for in honor of Serena.
Mm.
We always celebrate her birthday, so this was her the first birthday without her, and that's her bedroom, and that's some of her close friends, as well as her like my nieces and my granddaughters, and so we always gather on her birthday, and do something together as a family just to remember her. And Um, we do always have birthday cake and we sing happy birthday and
Mhm.
we have her picture there. So, and so, like I said, I got involved in different things. And the picture on the left is when I did a presentation to a community in Manitoba called Oji First Nation.
Mhm.
And they had a community gathering and they asked me to come out and talk to the youth and to the family members. And so I did a presentation on the loss of my daughter out there for them.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then I've participated in the MMIWG days within Manitoba here, the October 4th day. So
Mhm.
I've done that for the last number of years, and that's my mother on the right.
Aw.
Her name is Gloria.
Aw. Did she come to Saskatchewan with you? When
Yes.
okay.
No, no, she
No?
didn't. No, no. I got an invite to the Spirit of Our Sisters conference in 2017 in November. So I
Mhm.
attended that and I did a workshop there as well. And the lady in the middle is Hilda Anderson Piers, and she's a MMIWG advocate for Manitoba.
Mhm.
She recently was working with MKO, our northern rep from um, for Manitoba, and then she recently went into a role in the national level.
Mhm.
So she's been a huge support to us as well, and to families within Manitoba. And then the lady on the left is a cousin from Saskatchewan, and she lives in Alberta. So there was a women's march, and it usually happens every year. And as you know, the last couple of years, because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to gather.
Yeah.
So there was a virtual event this year that I participated in, and I did a bit of a talk there. But this was the Women's March in January of 2018,
Mhm.
and I did a presentation, a talk at that event, and it was a march around the downtown area in Winnipeg.
Mhm.
You know, with our advocacy and our appeal for justice, we did get T-shirts and posters made, just trying to advocate for those higher sentences and a tougher sentence for those the youth that were involved.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which families often have to do, right?
Exactly, and it's hard to do that without a lot of the supports that you need.
Yeah.
They usually have a Women's Day walk for missing and murdered, and that's usually in February. So we did participate in the one for 2018 and 19,
Mhm.
and uh, like I said, this year it was the virtual one. And then, like I said, I attend some healing gatherings, and there's one called Wiping Away the Tears event.
Mhm.
And then they get us to do different activities and, with art and painting and just making things on our own.
Mhm.
And they guide us along, but they also um, talk to us while we're going through these exercises. And it's all about healing and moving forward with your own healing plan.
Right.
So, and this year it was a virtual event again, so it was just held last month.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get back to a healthy place in the world that we can have these things, again, that clearly, help along with the healing journeys.
Yes, yeah.
I love the little dress.
So there was an elders gathering in 2019 in September,
Mhm.
and I attended that as well. But they did have honoring for missing and murdered at that gathering.
Mhm.
So I was invited to participate there as well, and they did like an honoring ceremony for all of the missing and murdered.
Mhm.
And then I attended a healing gathering in Thompson, Manitoba, a couple of years, and that was, this the picture on the right is one that was held in October 2019, and the lady on the left, Mary, is, kinda like a trauma worker, so she does a lot of, the trauma work with the families and, trying to, give them tools and assistance to get through their healing and to, things like how to take care of yourself, and so it's been a really, long journey, and like I said, it's taken like this year, it'll be 5 years since she's been gone in on April 23rd,
Mhm.
and, it's taken a long time to get to this point, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
And there's you and me on the left.
I love that picture. That was such a wonderful time.
Yeah.
I was busy as heck, but
Oh, I know. Yeah. So that was at the Saskatchewan Missing and Murdered Women's, gathering, and I think that the first in-person one?
yep, yep.
Yeah, in
Um,
2019.
yeah, that was so I think everything started shutting down, like, was it March 2020?
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, it would have been, like, yeah, one
just
of the
before
last
that.
big ones in
Yeah,
person.
for sure. And then the other pictures are just of other events that I've attended, and, there was a call to action awareness,
Mhm,
2 years ago, and that was prior to the pandemic too. And
mm,
then we had an honoring ceremony with, another family, um, on April 24th of 2021, and there was 3 families that got together, to honor our loved ones because, the losses were, very close to one another with,
mhm,
the date timelines. So we did, get Leslie Spillett to come and do a ceremony for us, and, an honoring ceremony of our loved one. And, it was, it's just, so, empowering to be able to participate in events with other family members that you get to know and you come close to. And, one of the other, family members is also from Peguis First Nation, so, you get to know one another, and you almost feel like they're your family as well,
right,
when you spend a lot of time with them and you're going through the same issues, and you just wanna lend each other support. And
mhm,
so this is just the final, slide, which just gives the dates of her, when she was here. There was a lady out of, so just stepping back for a minute, when the video was, posted to social media,
mhm,
like, the video was shared, um, all over the country as well as within, um, the US and, just across the world.
mhm,
And you know how fast things can get around on social media.
yeah,
And so, so many people were traumatized by the video because it was
mhm,
so graphic, and, it showed, her beating and what she was going through, as well as her screaming and things like that. And so, there was a lady from California who, I guess, got the video as well, and she was so traumatized and upset, and, that she opened a page on Facebook for
mhm,
called Justice for Serena McKay, and she had, such a big push from California to try and advocate for justice as well.
mhm,
And, she found out so many things that I couldn't necessarily verify, but, were seemed so real, and we weren't, able to, like, she wanted to actually come and attend court and everything, but from what I understood, she was blocked from all of that. So,
yeah,
yeah, and so I don't like, nothing ever really came out of, her push for justice.
mhm,
Um, but she, with there was hundreds or thousands or, of people that were impacted that got the video.
Mhm.
And, that was just with what they saw on the video was so traumatic. And when we went through court, like they did show that video,
Mhm.
and I refused to see it. Like I said, I never want to see it. And I was when things first happened, and within the couple of days after, when we started to plan for her funeral and things like that, like I didn't sleep for 3 days, just
Mm.
with how traumatized I was
Yeah.
with her loss. And I happened to come across a link that um, was the video, and I didn't know. Like somebody told me that it was posted on some kind of site,
Mm. Yeah.
and I actually clicked it on it, and I didn't realize that it was starting to play. But all I seen was my daughter's bloody face,
Oh,
and I shut it off right away. And I said to my friend, like, I said, "Oh my God, it's that video." I said, "I don't want to see that." So she reported it right away, and I actually tried to get the police to take down the video,
mhm.
and I guess that's a huge undertaking. And they tried as best that they could to get it off the internet, but I don't know if anything ever really disappears.
Yeah, because it
Mhm.
just touches so many hands, people download, save,
Yeah.
screen record, do whatever and
Hmm.
just share and share, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so traumatizing. Did the media ever play parts of the video or anything? Like,
Um, I don't think so. Like I think we requested that it not be publicly shared like that.
oh, that's good.
Yeah. And but I'm sure that that it's still active on some sites. I don't know. But and anytime that I had been alerted that it was out there, I would contact the RCMP right away and request that it be taken down.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry you've even had to, do that. Like,
mhm.
you've just had to deal with so much, process so much, go through so many different like all the hearings and pushing for more time and all of those things. That's a lot. And to have to like advocate for, dignity for your daughter and, just you to not have to experience that. And I think that happens a lot more often than people realize, and how hurtful, like when a family member doesn't think they're going to like click on something relating to their loved one and they do, like you feel that in your whole body, like you have a strong reaction to those types of things. And I just think people, especially here in the US, just need to understand what that's like a lot
Yeah.
more
Mhm.
and how
Yeah,
harmful.
and like I talked when I talked to the youth too, I said, I know that social media is a big thing among youth, and
Mhm.
I plead with them not to do things like posting videos or recording things about fighting, and that it's so important that that not be done, because you don't know what the ramifications are in the end, and you don't realize where that can go, and how readily it spreads.
Mhm.
So hopefully with that, those little bit of words, that they would have some kind of impact, with the youth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible for you to, share such a powerful story and such beautiful teachings without it impacting, um, a good portion of, whoever's
Hmm.
listening, whatever youth are present. So I know you've said you found comfort in being a part of this movement.
Hmm.
Um, prior to the movement really gaining traction and like families finding each other, I can imagine that these things felt, these situations felt really isolating, and people didn't talk about it. And
Hmm.
I just want to say, like, I know that you're part of, in Canada, like a movement of families who have really changed the way that things are done, the way that gatherings are held, like all of that is just I just think it's the most inspirational
Mhm.
like thing to see that process happen. And I just feel like, things are kind of starting at the beginning here in the United States. And I feel like a lot of family members are left out of the process
Mhm.
when it comes to their own stories, when it comes to planning anything, gatherings and organizations accepting money and not meeting the needs of family members. I feel like it's really, really problematic. And doing our best to just advocate for families, to be centered. Um, do you have any advice or ways that like people can understand how to support, this movement, like when it comes to awareness and advocacy and things like that?
Well, I think that once, you've been through something like this, your heart is in it, and
Mhm,
you really wanna, be helping other people because you know what you've been through,
mhm,
and you, I guess you can understand what they're going through too, and some of the challenges that they're gonna face. And, like, they're when I talk, I also talk about the stages of grief,
mhm,
and, um, there's different stages that they talk about, and, from, just from the shock and the trauma and um, when it eventually is the objective is that it'll lead to acceptance, but, within that time frame, you're all over the place,
mhm.
and, you could be feeling, really good one day, and then the next day you're just, like, in the biggest grief that you can possibly be in, and you don't know how to, manage or, what to do, and, um, so I think that, being a support to others, once you get to that point where you feel strong enough to provide support, is I think it's important to other families
Mhm.
because, you know what you've gone through and how you felt, and, but you also want to, help in advocating for their child's or their family members' justice as well. So, you just feel that sense of, awareness and that you wanna be a help.
Yeah.
So, I think that's why I've become involved and, wanted to, just ample my voice in that way,
Mhm,
and, um, and just telling, her story is really, empowering too to other people,
mhm.
because it helps them also to realize the value of their own loved one and that they can share, how their loved one was and who they were as a person, and
Yeah,
keep that memory alive, right?
yeah.
And, like, my daughter, like, she had her 3 older brothers, and they were always her protectors, and,
Mm,
they always watched out for her, and she always loved to talk and laugh with them, and, they always miss her, and, but they're not necessarily strong enough to be at this kinda level,
mhm,
um, but they will occasionally post stuff about her or, you
mhm,
know, talk about her at different times, and, but my youngest son, um, did a victim impact statement that was really profound, and,
mhm,
he wanted to, do a scholarship in her name, and,
mhm.
um, but he never had the resources to do that, so, maybe that's something that we can work on next is, how can we get that assistance or, help, families that want to do that kind of stuff in memory and honor of their loved one. And,
Yeah, and especially if I'm trying to help him.
yeah, yeah, and, like, it's a really, profound gesture on his part to, want to do that. And
Mhm.
I think that you know, just even by like it would be like a scholarship for other youth to get through
Mhm.
their own education. And that my grandfather gave us a teaching when we were younger that education is key for our First Nations people, and
Mhm.
in order to get ahead and to be someone in the world is to educate yourself and to go through high school and post-secondary, in order to become a leader, or to have the resources for your own family members. So
Yeah.
we took to heart what he told us, and well, myself especially. And I wanted to um, I don't know if my objective was to work in HR, but it just kind of happened that way.
Uh-huh.
But and I have trained myself, and I've gone through university too for that. And so I think that being a helper is kind of like my overall objective,
Mhm.
and not only in this way, but in the HR field as well. So.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you do a lot, my friend, like, you definitely do a lot. It's, like I said, very inspiring, and,
Mhm,
with the education, like, that teaching, I feel like there's just a part of it, and I only know from my experience growing up in Saskatchewan, like,
mhm,
even just all the hardships that many of, our First Nations people face, like, it can be so hard to focus on your education,
mhm,
and seeing, your daughter, moving and just staying in high school and working towards that, like, that picture of the graduation gown,
mhm.
really choked me up a little.
Yeah.
My oldest son is 19, and the way that I view him, even though he's a young adult, and I see that gown, that red gown at the graduation, I just can't, like, the words in my head are like, "That poor baby," like, that's how I see her just because I have a son at that, same age, and,
Mhm.
they're adults, that's still your baby, that's your precious child. Um,
Yeah. For sure. And she had goals and objectives, and
mhm,
she talked about studying law. She wanted to be a lawyer. And
uh-huh,
I think that she wanted to follow her dreams, and she wanted to get past her own issues and move forward.
mhm,
And but she really had a hard time in 2015 because she had two friends that were really close to her that both passed away in the same year.
mhm,
One of them committed suicide as a youth, and the other one was killed in a car accident. And she had such a hard time, and she was actually in treatment when her best friend committed suicide. And
oh,
she it was such a hard time on her. And so I think just with those losses, they helped her to realize that she has, bigger things that are to come. And, so that's why she kind of more or less wanted to pursue her graduation and to move forward with her own goals in the future. So,
mhm.
yeah.
Such a young age to make, like, such a strong decision, for herself, that's really admirable. So,
Mhm.
are you planning anything for her birthday this year?
Well, we want to I want to plan something for her 5th year anniversary of her death, which would be April 2017, this year.
Mhm,
So I haven't decided what I'm gonna do yet, because like now that the restrictions are being lifted, I'm hoping that we can maybe have a small gathering. And what we had done for the first few years is we had a memorial in a church.
mhm,
And so we had a service, and we invited close family members and friends.
mhm.
And so we did that for the first 2 years, and then the pandemic hit. So this year I'm hoping we can do something else. And but we do celebrate her birthday. Like last year, we had a barbecue, and it
Mhm.
was just mostly family that came, and she always loved to have a barbecue. So, and we had always done that since she was a little girl, was to have a barbecue on her birthday because it was like kind of like close to the end of summer and it was still really nice out. And there was actually this one time when I think she might have been turning 4 or 5, and everybody was kind of gathered in the backyard,
Mhm.
and she had her own special table there where she was sitting. And all of a sudden we heard this car accident, and it was like right on the corner. So everybody got up and started running to the corner. And then we were like checking out what happened, and we all completely forgot that we left her in the backyard. I think she was sitting in a high chair or something. And we're like, oh no, we left our baby.
Us natives are nosy. No, I was
Yeah.
kidding. Aw.
Yeah, so we have some really good memories of her, and we now we think about her as an angel, and that she's happy where she is and she's with her friends, and
Mhm.
we know that we'll see her again sometime.
Yeah. When you see, Northern Lights, do you think of her?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful memory, and, like, to just hear all the dates and, like, was the graduation on your birthday?
Yeah. And
Um,
her birthday's on September
on your
30th, and
birthday? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, all of those things, but yeah, I'm so honored, that you joined today and that you're able to share. Um, I think that, especially for family members that take the time to like listen to this session, there's so much that they can gain from it, especially, strength and courage and encouragement, really, as a family member. Your story is really inspirational. And, before we get ready to close, is there anything else that you want to share? Is there any, um, I don't know, any way to support you, or, just encouragement for anybody else that maybe isn't a family member but wants to help contribute towards, this movement? Like, just
Mhm.
anything, any last words or bit of advice, or, a favorite memory um, of your daughter, anything?
Well, I think that I talked a bit about how there is a lack of resources for families,
Yeah.
and the even though we did get support a lot, we got a lot of support when she passed away, and there was different groups that were fundraising to provide support for her funeral, and so we were able to give her a really beautiful funeral.
Mhm.
And we were able to get the best casket possible, and she's actually buried just a few blocks from here. And so I go there all the time. I take flowers, and
Mhm.
I sit there and I just like talk or read, and
Mhm.
I'm able to spend that time just to help with my own um processing of it and everything. So,
Yeah.
and so I think that like you said, it is important for families to have some kind of avenue when they're doing searches, or when they're trying to fundraise for different things, or even to hold an event for
Mhm.
um, memorials, or feasts or things like that. There's
Mhm.
not much out there, and you're trying to do it on your own. So I think that it is important to support in that way. And
Mhm.
even things like I talked about the scholarship fund, and
Yeah.
like that's something that is to honor your loved one and to keep their memory alive. And I think that's really important, that families have that support. And
Mhm.
because I'm sure that they have their own ideas or objectives on how they want to keep that memory.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really important piece in helping family members. And
Yeah.
you know, I there's one memory that I wanted to talk about was when she was at Sagging High School. They had a day where they um, did like animal calling, and
Mhm.
she used to always go hunting with her dad, and he would take her out moose hunting.
Uh-huh.
So so
Oh,
they
cool.
did like moose calling and geese calling and stuff like that, and she actually won second place.
She's an old pro, huh?
So that
Uh,
was like her that was like she was so proud of herself that time, and she called us right away, and she was telling us about how she won the moose calling, and so
that's awesome. I
yeah,
love hearing stuff like that,
yeah.
with First Nations youth especially.
Hmm. Yeah, so she was a really fun, loving person all around. And
Mhm.
so I think that and that's why she's so missed by everybody is, by all her friends. And when you look at her Facebook page, there's people posting on there all the time, just, saying that how they miss her and how they, want to see her again at some time in the future, but they know she's happy. And, so I think that's really important is to for family, friends, and loved ones that they just keep that memory and do whatever they want if to send messages to her. And so I think it's lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I really hope that, the scholarship happens. I mean, if that's how your son, really wants to honor her, and I just think that, yeah, that's something that, there's so many business and organizations out there that definitely I think it could happen,
Yeah, for sure.
really good for
Hmm.
his healing too.
Yeah.
Well, she sounds like, you know, just a light, just a beautiful young woman. And I just really again want to thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I hope that you take some time for yourself today. I know that sometimes, these conversations can be difficult, can leave you feeling a little heavy. Serena, she was just such a gorgeous young woman. And I think that she was really blessed to have chosen you as her mother, because you continue to love her and to show that love for her by being such a fierce voice for so many of our relatives that are missing or have been murdered.
Yeah.
And your advocacy, it honors all of us, and I'm just really grateful to have this opportunity to learn from you and to hold space, with you. Very powerful story, Dal. Like all my emotions are coming out now. um,
Well, me too. Well, I thank you for again for the invitation, and I really enjoyed our time together today. And I really hope that people will learn from us, and will be able to.
mhm.
And I really appreciate what you're doing too with the storytelling initiative. And I hope it does raise awareness for everybody across the country. And like I always talk about how we need to educate the countries, and we
Mhm.
need to educate on this issue and of missing and murdered, and because it's not going away. And
Yep.
there's young people every day that we see on social media that are missing, or and it's constant. So I think that
Yeah.
it's important to keep talking about it, and
Mhm.
educate, and talk about that, ending the violence. So
Mhm. Absolutely. And I mean, even since, the inquiry, there's the task forces that are, formed here in the US, like the rate of our relatives that are going missing or even being found, murdered, it really hasn't slowed down, like, and that's an issue. Those calls to action need to be taken serious, like the day after they were made.
Yes.
for there to be real change for our people. Um,
Mhm.
it's disappointing, that hasn't been in place, but I'm just again grateful that we have, people like you, people like my mom and just the other leaders who are families and who are just a strong voice for families,
Mhm.
and a comfort for so many families. And I'm really proud of this project with Seeding Sovereignty. It's fairly new. We just want to keep these conversations as organic as possible. Um, to give space to family members to express however their love and their story, however they choose.
Mhm.
And we also do fundraising, and those funds are all allocated back to families and what their needs are, and we've been able to help with searches. We're able to compensate families who share. We're trying to get a lot of care packages together so that we can send those out for May 5th, so families don't feel like they're left out, even if they know of an event that they can't attend, or because of COVID they can't attend, like they still feel acknowledged on that day. So
Mm.
at Seeding Sovereignty, we're really trying to push hard to do things in a good way for our families,
Yeah.
family members. So.
Oh, that's excellent. That's great. I was gonna show you my medallion I got made. This is from a lady in Gordon's.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it says MMIW at the bottom.
That looks like a tight beadwork. It almost looks like a
Oh, I
painting.
know. Yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
a drawing with like a pencil crayon. It's so
Yeah,
nice and neat.
intricate. Yeah.
Did you give me a pin at the gathering?
Uh, I don't remember. Maybe I did. Maybe.
I feel like you did. Yeah, I have like four different red dress pins that I got from that gathering, and I'm pretty sure Dell gave me one, and there was a photo of you with one of the ones that I have. So I don't know if it's the same
Oh,
one or what, but yeah,
yeah.
um, that was
So,
a wonderful time.
yeah, I guess like if anybody ever wants to talk to me, they can reach out to you, and I think you said you have a website, and the they can reach out to you if if they feel that they want to get in touch with me and have a discussion about, any issues that they're going through, then I'm open to that too.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, for any family members or anybody else, when this is posted on the website, there will be a link. And if anything, happens or changes, or you want to, share anything, we can update all of your information on the website with your link where your story will be posted.
Okay.
So that'll be there. But again, thank you so much for joining today and for sharing. Thank you for your courage, your bravery, your leadership. Before we close, I just want to acknowledge any family members that may watch this episode. The power and strength of MMIP families guide us in this movement with their courage, and even through their grief. They find that courage and that strength to share these stories that are difficult, and that's so admirable. It's time for organizations and advocates and just society, the media, to really listen to MMIP families and to allow their voices to lead this work. I want to say thank you to the families and to the trusted advocates that continue the work out there, because we're never going to give up. And to learn more and watch other MMIP storytelling episodes, please visit seedingsovereignty.org/MMIP. And please consider donating to the MMIP project on global giving. I'm sorry. The link can also be found at seedingsovereignty.org/MMIP. Your donations help us compensate our MMIP storytellers for their time, and it also allows us to get immediate, tangible care to MMIP families across Turtle Island. And again, thank you so much, Del. I hope you have a good day and a good upcoming weekend. So until next time, Kananash Kumtin. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.